Now let's talk about product versus services. And to some extent, many companies offer both, and many companies only offer one. We're in a interesting situation in that for certain services where we can deliver value in a real market making process, we act as a sell side representative, meaning we represent the consumer of capital to bring them what they need. On the other side of the spectrum, we also have products that we offer in-house, capitalized through various partnerships, that will allow us to compete properly in those situations where we cannot maybe create or generate alpha by making a market, like a HUD loan, for example, or it's not a deep enough market to merit a market making process. And so we principal the transaction. So let's talk about the service size first. On the service side of the business, it is predicated on establishing a real relationship with someone because you cannot taste test the service. There's no way to know what the final outcome will be unless you go through the process with someone. So you have to convince somebody that you have the capabilities to execute on the situation that you're looking to get engaged in. And the lower down and the more commoditized the capital stack you are, the easier the process is. And the higher up you go and the more structured you get, the more important the market making process is on the service side. For example, fairly easy to make a market with a low leverage senior loan on a stabilized property. 5, 6 quotes, all of them are going to be in pretty tight bandwidth of each other. When you go further up the stack, especially when you go to mezz, pref, and equity, when you go from stabilized to development, when you move from multifamily to hospitality, the difference in structures, attention, availability really widens out. And so you really need to make a market there, not just for price check, but for structure and frankly, for availability sometimes. On the product side of the equation, we play in a space where it is generally not possible to make a real market, like HUD, for example, through our relationship with another smaller firm. Or as principal, we deploy capital into the C-PACE, meaning commercial, oh my God, I forgot what C-PACE stands for, property assessed clean energy, or in the ground lease space where we principal the position as well. The market is just not deep enough or commoditized on the C-PACE side where it makes sense to represent one side of the equation and then be able to bring in other aspects of the capital stack as an intermediary. So you can't have, for example, a deal where you provide C-PACE, but there's no senior loan. You must bring the senior loan. There's no situation where you have a ground lease and not other aspects of the capital stack. You must know how to bring the other sides. And that is the interesting place that we play where we can approach the business as a pure service provider. At the same time, we can also approach the business as a product provider. Now, why is that important? When you're first starting out in a business, it is very hard to establish a relationship to a point where someone is going to trust you, especially with large deals. And so you'll generally be the, as we like to say, the victim of adverse selection, where you're going to get deals that are tough to get, or as we say, easy to get, hard to do. Development deals, equity deals, further on a spectrum, with regards to where they are geographically or how early they are in the, pre-entitlement or pre-site plan process. How do you get the more commoditized type transactions? Well, HUD, right, where we don't have to charge a brokerage fee. Ground lease, where we really have no competition and we can bring the rest of the capital stack with us. C-PACE, where we don't charge a brokerage fee and can bring the senior debt along with our advisory side of the business. So for younger people starting out or trying to penetrate a really large institutional platform, it is, in my opinion, easier to lead with product versus service. Because on a product, they don't have to taste test. You say, here's a term sheet. Do you want it or not? Does it fit what you're looking for? And then you can bring the rest of the services along with it once you've established that relationship. So having a great mix of product and services really allows us to be efficient in tackling not just the entrepreneurial middle market prospects, but also the larger, more established institutional prospects as well.